taking a look at the wide receiver pre-draft visits that the Patriots have had. You have USC's Jordan Addison, who is expected to meet with the Patriots tomorrow. BC's Zay Flowers. Albert Breer reporting that the Pats had extensive meeting with Jaxon, Smith-Njigba. They also met with Quentin Johnston from TCU. And the bottom note right there is wide receiver reportedly to meet with the Patriots tomorrow. That would be Jordan Addison. Yes, exactly. Yeah. All right, so how do you feel about this crop of wide receivers who would seem to be first-round picks, Phil?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting group. It's not as loaded and it's not as deep as we've seen in years past. That's what evaluators will tell you. But the three names below Addison on that list are the three that are most interesting to me. Addison is very slight, and he's not all that athletic. Usually that's a very bad combination for having success at the NFL level. Now, he was the best receiver in the country a couple of years ago at Pitt, had a great year last year at USC, but it's the other names. Quentin Johnston, to me, is the big 6'3", 215-pound, forces a ton of missed tackles type of boundary receiver that could be a real threat for them, Tom. And then the other two guys are slots, but they are dynamic slots. Jaxon Smith-Njigba separates like someone who is much smaller in stature. He's 6'1", 200 pounds, and he has the type of quickness, timed quickness at least, that Julian Edelman had coming out of Kent State. Zay Flowers is an inside-outside guy that I think personally would be the most fun to see him added to this Patriots offense because of Bill O'Brien.
What's cool about this is, as Phil just mentioned, all three have pretty varied skills. So what are you looking at in your wide receiver room as to who's coming up after this season? Who's coming up in terms of Devontae Parker? He's up, I believe. Kendrick Bourne is up. So if Tyquan Thornton moves along as your boundary receiver who can absolutely friggin' fly, then yeah, Zay Flowers coming in, and Juju Smith is going to be here for 2 years. But I mean, you're going to lose Parker perhaps. You might lose Bourne perhaps. Then I think that you have options to complement that. Quentin Johnston might be the best one-for-one, it seems, for Devontae Parker, even better than Parker in terms of speed. Zay Flowers would be, Bourne-ish.
To me, Zay Flowers is almost Jalen Waddle-ish. Like, he's very undersized, but he flies, and he flies in every direction. He's quick and he's fast, so he could separate in the middle of the field. Where Bill O'Brien really hammered people in 2011, last time he was offensive coordinator here, it was the middle of the field. Gesicki can be a vertical threat down the middle of the field. Juju Smith-Schuster, who you mentioned, Hunter Henry, these are middle of the field guys. That's where Mac Jones wants to operate, I think. It's where he's best suited to operate. And if you can add somebody like Zay Flowers, who is a separator, which Juju Smith-Schuster really isn't, that would give them something they don't have.
I'm wondering, should Juju be a pipe stopper at slot, or, you know what I'm saying? He can play that position, but you don't want to say, well, that's our slot. We can't bring somebody else.
I go back to a question I asked Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network earlier this offseason, where he said, which receiver in this class complements what the Patriots already have? And he said, should they be in the complementing business, or should they be in the replacement business?
Yes.
There's nobody on the roster right now that should preclude you or deter you from taking anybody that you think has the talent level some of these guys have.
I feel comfortable saying this because Bert's not here, but because of the history with the Ohio State receivers as of late, that's why I like the idea of going after an Ohio State receiver and Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Like that to me, it just feels like a more sure thing.
They're in such a great spot at 14, Tom,
yeah,
because they're going to get their pick of receivers to a degree, could have their pick of cornerbacks except for one or two, because of the quarterbacks who are going to drive the talent down.